Hey there. It is Wednesday, October 14th, 2015, Comic Book Day. First part of this week's reviews, I reviewed the DC books that I picked up this week. In this part, we're going to review two Marvel books and Swords of Sorrow, issue number 6. The finale to this crossover event. I believe it's Gail Simone's last issue she's writing for Dynamite. Um, and to be completely frank, I feel that this is a bit of an anticlimax for the ending. It starts off really good, in my opinion. We start off with Jane, Lady Greystroke, writing a Dear John letter to Tarzan, his name is John, so it's literally a Dear John letter, but basically saying, I think this might be the last time I ever write you. We're doing the last stand at the tower, defending the multiverse or whatever. But we're putting on a good show, and I love you and all that. The letter's better written than what I just said. That was not quoting it verbatim. And we do see some pretty great snippets of this last stand of the fight scene. So like we have a Pantera over there tackling one of the Shard people. Pantha, sorry, not Pantara. Pantha tackling one of the Shard people. We then catch up with our main three, Sonya, Vampirella, and Darja, as they try and make their way towards the prince's castle to kill the prince with their 3 magic swords. In the last issue, Purgatory kind of ambushed them and killed Vampirella. And in this issue, she takes away Vampirella's sword, so they can't fulfill the prophecy because they need all 3 women and all 3 swords. And then they just keep on building the threat, and then it just kind of they solve it. They keep on building and building the threat and everything. It's really cool to see these women do the last stand, and there's some great scenes where we have the Shard people make their way up to Snow White's room, only for everyone to find out that Snow White was a decoy, and that Masquerade was just pretending to be Snow White as a decoy. And we see all these kind of last-ditch efforts. Some of the prince's henchmen turn coat and decide to fight for the good guys, which is cool. But then the actual ending, the actual defeat of the prince, is very abrupt, very sudden, and very anticlimactic. So in the last issue, the Jungle Girl kind of bailed, and in this issue she comes back with reinforcements as the army's getting overwhelmed. And what I like is that one of the reinforcements is a Thor, because she's been using the portals to travel through all different time and dimensions and all that. So she brought back a Thor with her to be reinforcement. And then, the Sonya, Thorja, and Vampirella eventually make it to the prince, and they win. It's not really a spoiler, I don't think, to say that the heroes win this one. But we don't really see them make their way to it. They're just kind of suddenly there. We find out how Vampirella got revived in one little panel after the fact. And it's all just very, well, it looks like, we have a few pages left. We got to wrap up this book real quick. Snap, snap, snap. Which I feel could have done a bit better, especially considering how well they ramped up the threat. It'd be cool to actually see the tides turn, and see some of the reinforcements in action and all that. But otherwise, I quite like this crossover. I thought, considering the number of characters, and there were a ton of characters, a lot of them were given very distinct personalities. Even if you've never read their books before, it was clear who these characters are, how they behave, what their personal moral codes and all that were. And it was fun seeing them interact. I thought the art was great throughout this book, and I thought the first 5 issues, in terms of setting up stuff, maybe it could have been condensed to a 4-issue miniseries. I mean, there's some fat to be trimmed, I'm sure. But I thought it was very well paced and very well done, and I quite enjoyed it. I wish that this last issue were a bit longer, again, to just fit in more of the actual heroes winning after all the ramping up they did. But I mean, it doesn't ruin the entire story. So going out, not quite on a bang, kind of a hiss, going out on a psst, like a very sudden kind of, maybe a pop, going out on a pop, like a balloon popping. It's loud and exciting, but you wish it were less sudden because that kind of freaked you out. Moving on to Last Days of Miss Marvel issue 19, the last issue that they're putting out before starting over from a #1, I believe next month, or could even be later this month. Yes, the last issue of this run of Captain Marvel, Volume 1, or whatever. And this is a very quiet issue. I quite like it. There's no superheroing through this issue at all. It's really just Kamala saying goodbyes. She's the only one in this story who knows for sure that the world is ending, and it's her kind of making last peace with everybody. So in the last page of the last issue, Kamala's mom revealed that she knows that she's been Miss Marvel, sorry. And so Kamala and her mom have that conversation where her mom tells her that she's proud that her daughter is Miss Marvel, and that they thought she was sneaking out for all sorts of things, and she's relieved to find out it's because she's a superhero and she's helping people. She talks with Zoe, the popular girl, who started out in issue 1 kind of making fun of Kamala in this very kind of patronizing way, like, oh, poor you, because of your family's religion, you can't have any fun. And so Zoe basically says, I'm sorry, I treated you bad, I was jealous because you're a really nice person and people like you, while people are just kind of jealous and resentful of me. And so they have a nice bonding moment. And then, of course, at the very end, we have Kamala finally have a talk with Bruno, where they reveal their feelings to each other, and it's sweet. It's a sweet ending. It's nice and subdued and quiet, but it makes sense for Kamala. It's her, after superheroing and freaking out and meeting Spider-Man and Wolverine and all that, she gets a nice, quiet issue to catch up with her family and her friends who are coming to terms with, her being a superhero and also the end of the world, although they don't quite know it yet. And so it's a nice, quiet issue to end up on, and it's sweet. It's sentimental. It's kind of schlocky, but it's a good ending, especially considering that we're getting another issue 1 next month, so it's not, they're not going to pull out all the stops just to start again next, with another #1 next month. So it's nice that we have this kind of reflexive period, even if it is only for an issue. However, I do wonder how much of this is going to last. There are revelations, there are characters having important character-building discussions here, so I wonder how much of that is going to carry over to the second volume of this book, and see, especially how the Kamala and Bruno relationship ends up or is different at the at issue #1 next month. So but yeah, nice quiet issue, pretty good to go to end up on if you've been reading from the start. And yeah, I can't say I didn't enjoy it, even though there wasn't much to do. And the last issue of this video, or this part of this week's reviews, another Marvel book, another #1, Spider-Gwen #1. I'm not sure if this Radioactive here is part of the title of the book, so I'm not sure if they're renaming the book Radioactive Spider-Gwen, or if Radioactive is just the title of this arc. Not really sure. It's listed as Spider-Gwen on Comixology, which is how I make my pull list. But it wouldn't surprise me if they renamed the book Radioactive Spider-Gwen to differentiate it from the original Spider-Gwen run, which was like last month or however many months ago it was, not very recently. But this issue really doesn't skip a beat at all from the last. As you can tell from the recap, we're beginning this with Gwen Stacy's dad, with Captain Stacy, knowing that Gwen is Spider-Woman, and that was kind of one of the more recent revelations, and so we're beginning with that still going on. We begin this issue with a great character, who's probably like a bit player, very small character, but I just love him. It's the Bodega Burglar, who's like the Hamburglar, but he robs bodegas for corn dogs, and it's so silly. But then all of a sudden, oh no, the Lizard is back, and the Lizard, of course, in this universe was Peter Parker, instead of Kurt Connors, although Kurt Connors helped Peter develop the Lizard formula and all that. But the Lizard is back, and we're not sure if it's Peter, if it's Connor, or who the Lizard is right now. And then we have a very typical kind of Spider-Man morning where Gwen wakes up, first day of work, and she wakes up late, and then her web shooters get jammed, so she gets accidentally runs into the cops, and is just having a really terrible New York morning where she's late for everything and nothing is working in her favor. Of course, she doesn't have to deal with the MTA, so my mornings are still worse. She has a chat with her dad on the phone, as her dad reveals to one of his cop buddies that he's dropping the Spider-Woman case in favor of kind of tackling the Lizard, who has been making many appearances throughout the city in the previous time before this comic begins. I can't talk, I'm very tired. And then Spider-Gwen does her own Lizard investigating. And the art is just, I mean, the art in this book has always been fantastic, so I think that's really cool. So we have this like really cool scene in the sewers where she has a bunch of corn dogs for bait, and we see this trail of the smell that like the lizards might see, and as you can tell, there's more than one lizard in this book. And then we get a character introduction at the very end. Very exciting to see another superhero introduction, seeing how this superhero is changed in the Spider-Gwen universe. It's a big name. It's a big name superhero. First time we're seeing them in the Spider-Gwen universe, and it's exciting to see what they're doing with that character here. Or at least I'm excited for it. Right now, this book, I mean, it has more going aesthetically than narratively. Like, just the art in this book is really enjoyable, and I really like it. The bright kind of neons that they're going, and then the contrast between kind of the Gwen scenes and the Spider-Woman scenes here. And just like the light, how we switch from like these strong pinks to the strong yellows to the strong blues in the sewer. Really cool stuff, I think. I've just really enjoyed it. And besides that, we are introduced to another character. Harry Osborn makes his first appearance in this universe, in this book. And it's kind of fun to see how they're building that character, or at least hint towards what that character might become in this book. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Spider-Gwen #1. Not the best #1. It doesn't really compare to Doctor Strange, Iron Man, or Spider-Man #1 from last week. But you know, I like the concept so much, and I feel like a lot of other people do too. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep on pushing Spider-Gwen. And I really want the book to be good, and so far it hasn't shown me any signs that it won't be good. So I'm gonna keep on reading it and hope it improves from here. That is it for this part of the video. We still have one more part, 3 more books left to review this week, including Sex Criminals number 14 or number 13, 14, 13, number 13, Sex Criminals number 13. In the next and last part of this week's reviews. But before we get to that, I want to thank you for watching this part. If you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe if you feel like it. Any comments, questions, anything whatsoever, please leave them below, and I will try to get to them. And yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll join me for some more comic book reviews.